Which standard construct does the web development environment, JavaScript, offer for data validation of user input? Control loop constructs. Server page access. Client-side event. Server-side processing. The main purpose of Livewire in Netscape was to blank. Create linkage between client-side and server-side. Permit server-side JavaScript code to connect to RDBMS. Support only non-relational databases. Interpret JavaScript code. The less than script greater than tag is typically placed in blank, the less than head greater than tag, the less than head greater than or less than body greater than section, the less than title greater than or less than head greater than section, after the less than body greater than tag. JavaScript is primarily used to simplify computations within HTML, reduce the processing load on the web server, increase the download time for the client, increase the loading time of the website. Which HTML attribute ensures that an external script is executed only after the page has finished parsing, parse, async, defer, type. JavaScript can be written blank directly into a JS file and linked to HTML directly on a server page, directly within HTML pages using less than script greater than tags, directly into a CSS file. A scripting language is typically a blank high-level programming language, assembly-level programming language, machine-level programming language, low-level programming language. A primary expression is typically a standalone expression, a basic expression that contains all necessary functions, an expression that contains only variable references, an expression that contains only keywords. The act of calling or executing a function or method in JavaScript is known as an primary expression, functional expression, invocation expression, property access expression. What kind of expression is new point 2, 3? Primary expression, object creation expression, invocation expression, constructor calling expression. Which of the following is the correct syntax to display enter password in an alert box using JavaScript? Alert box, enter password, MSG, enter password, MSG box, enter password, alert, enter password. Which software, developed and published by Adobe Inc., is a raster graphics editor? Adobe Reader, Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe Photoshop. Which operator is used to check if a specific property exists in an object? In, exist, within, exists. Among the following, which one is a ternary operator? Plus, greater than. An expression that can legally appear on the left side of an assignment expression is a well-known explanation for variables, properties of objects, and elements of arrays. They are called properties, prototypes, Lavalu, definition.
अगर आप ट्रिपल सी या ओ लेवल के स्टूडेंट हैं तो पेश है आपके लिए आपके सब्जेक्ट से रिलेटेड 1500 प्लस MCQs। इसमें क्वेश्चंस हिंदी और इंग्लिश दोनों में हैं, शॉर्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन है और आपके डाउट सॉल्व करने के लिए चैट जीपीटी की सपोर्ट है। अगर आप इसे ट्राई करना चाहते हैं तो प्ले स्टोर से एंकी ड्रॉइड डाउनलोड करें और हमारी वेबसाइट acemcqs.gt.tc पर जाकर अपने सब्जेक्ट के फ्री सैंपल सेट डाउनलोड करें और एंकी ड्रॉइड में इंपोर्ट करके इस्तेमाल करना शुरू करें। अगर आपको अच्छा लगे तो बाय नाउ पर क्लिक करके गूगल फॉर्म फिल करें। हम आपका 1500 प्लस क्वेश्चन का सेट 1 से 6 घंटे के अंदर आपके व्हाट्सएप नंबर और ईमेल पर भेज देंगे।
JavaScript is a blank language. Object oriented, high level, assembly language, object based. A conditional expression is also called a alternative to if-else statement, immediate if then else statement, switch statement. What is a block statement in JavaScript? A conditional block, a block that contains a single statement, both a conditional block and a single statement, a block that combines multiple statements into a single compound statement. When an empty statement is encountered, a JavaScript interpreter, blank, ignores the statement, prompts to complete the statement, throws an error, shows a warning. The enumeration order becomes implementation dependent and non-interoperable if the object inherits enumerable properties. The object does not have properties present at integer array indices. The delete keyword is never used. Object define property is not used. What are the three important manipulations done in a for loop on a loop variable? Updation, incrementation, initialization. Initialization, testing, updation. Testing, updation, testing. Initialization, testing, incrementation. One of the special features of an interpreter in reference to the for loop is that before each iteration, the interpreter evaluates the variable expression and assigns the name of the property. The iterations can be infinite when an interpreter is used. The body of the loop is executed only once. The iteration is finite when an interpreter is used. What will happen if the body of a for in loop deletes a property that has not yet been enumerated? The property will be stored in a cache. The loop will not run. That property will not be enumerated. The property will be enumerated. What action does the interpreter take when an exception is thrown? The interpreter stops its work. The interpreter throws another exception. The interpreter jumps to the nearest enclosing exception handler. The interpreter throws an error. Among the keywords below, which one is not a statement, debugger, with if, use strict? The unordered collection of properties, each of which has a name and a value, is called string, object, serialized object, array. An object typically has three main internal attributes, namely class, parameters, objects extensible flag. Prototype, class, objects parameters. Prototype, class, objects extensible flag. Native object, classes and interfaces, and objects extensible flag. A linkage of a series of prototype objects is called a prototype stack, prototype chain, prototype class, prototypes. To determine whether one object is the prototype of, or as part of the prototype chain of, another object, one should use the is prototype of method equals operator equals operator. The purpose of the extensible attribute is to make all of the own properties of that object non-configurable, configure and make a property writable, lock down objects into a known state and prevent outside tampering, include new properties into the object. The basic purpose of the toLocale method is to return a localized object representation, return a parsed string, return a local time in string format, return a localized string representation of the object. The pop method of the array does which of the following tasks? Decrements the total length by 1. Increments the total length by 1. Prints the first element but has no effect on the length. Updates an element. What will happen if reverse and join methods are used simultaneously? Reverses the array and stores it in the same array. Reverses and concatenates the elements of the array. Reverses the array. Stores the elements of an array in normal order. The primary purpose of the array map method is that it blank maps the elements of another array into itself, passes each element of the array and returns the necessary mapped elements, passes each element of the array on which it is invoked to the function you specify, and returns a new array containing the values returned by that function, passes the elements of the array into another array. Which operator is used to determine the type of a variable in JavaScript? Is array type. Type of. Connecting websites to backend servers, processing data, and controlling the behavior of higher layers, all these things are typically handled by HTML language, JavaScript, CSS, none of the above. Which of the following types of variables is visible everywhere in your JavaScript code? Global variable, local variable, both A and B. None of the above. Where should the less than script greater than tag be placed in an HTML document? In the less than head greater than section. In the less than head greater than or less than body greater than sections. In the less than title greater than and less than head greater than sections. In all of the above sections. What is the correct syntax for referring to an external script file named ABC, JSON, less than script href equals ABC, JS, greater than less than, script greater than, less than script scr equals ABC, JS, greater than less than, script greater than, less than script name equals ABC, JS, greater than less than, script greater than, less than script src equals ABC, JS, greater than less than, script greater than. Which symbol is used to separate multiple variable declarations in a single statement? Semicolon, winking face, colon, smiley face, comma, asterisk, asterisk. Which of the following statements is true about AngularJS expressions? Expressions behave in the same way as ng bind directives. Expressions are used to bind application data to HTML. Expressions are written inside double braces like expression. All of these. Which of the following is the correct syntax to display the username variable using AngularJS expressions? Username, username, useitname, underscore username. Which is the correct syntax for an Angular module? Var variable underscore name equals Angular module app underscore name. Var variable underscore name equals Angular modules app underscore name. Var variable underscore name equals Angular module. Var variable underscore name equals new module. Which of the following expressions is true? Expression, expression, underscore expression, expression. What is a module in AngularJS? Expression, application, element. None of the above. Which of the following directives allows one to use a form? ng app, ng form, ng controller, ng bind. AngularJS is a HTML framework, Net framework, JavaScript framework, Oracle framework. Which of the following statements is true for AngularJS? AngularJS is a closed-source front-end web framework. AngularJS is an open-source front-end web framework. AngularJS is an open-source back-end web framework. AngularJS is a closed-source back-end web framework. Which of the following components can be injected as a dependency in AngularJS? Factory, service, value. All of the above. Identify the invalid HTML event, unload, load, on mouse out, on mouse over. Which comparison operator is used to find equality of type as well as content between two variables? Equals equals, equals equals equals, equals 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 dot. None of the above. Which of the following is not a valid statement about AngularJS? It is a JavaScript framework. It is added using the less than script greater than tag. It is a framework written in C. AngularJS extends HTML attributes. The exponential operator in JavaScript is caret, %. None of the above. An HTML element can be accessed in JavaScript using which of the following? GetElements bName, getElement bid, getElements bClassName. All of the above. Which directive is used to initialize an AngularJS application? ng app, ng init, ng model. None of the above. What is the primary role of JavaScript in web design? To define the content of web pages. To specify the layout of web pages. To program the behavior of web pages. None of the above. Identify the invalid statement about AngularJS expressions. They are written inside double curly braces, expression. They can be written inside a directive, ngbind equals, expression. They return the result exactly where the expression is written. AngularJS expressions are exactly like JavaScript expressions. What is not true about the ng repeat directive in AngularJS? Repeats an HTML element. Clones HTML elements once for each item in a collection. Used on an array of objects. Defines initial values for an AngularJS application. Variables in JavaScript cannot be declared using var, let, set. None of these. Which class property makes an image transparent? W3 opacity, W3 trans, W3 grayscale. None of the above. Which JavaScript statement is used to perform different actions based on different conditions, if, for, while, switch. Which of the following can be used as a prefix for directives, data, ng? Both A and B. None of the above. What can JavaScript dynamically change on a web page? HTML content, HTML attribute values, HTML styles. All of the above. Which statement is used to exit a switch block? Exit, break, default, out. JavaScript was invented by Helsinki Linus, W3 Group, Brendan Eich, James Gosling. A variable can hold blank value at a time. Multiple, single, none of these, double. How is an integer variable declared in JavaScript? Int num, integer num. Integer nums, var num. JavaScript was originally developed under the name blank ActionScript, Censure, Oak, Mocha. Which was the first browser to support JavaScript? i.e., Netscape Navigator, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox. Which of the following attribute is used to include external JavaScript code inside your HTML document? Script tag, src. Link tag, rail. JavaScript is designed for the following purpose: to execute queries related to databases on the server, to style HTML pages, to add interactivity to HTML pages, to perform server-side scripting operations. AngularJS is a type of open-source framework for front-end, back-end, full-end, all of the above. What are built-in pipes in AngularJS? Date pipe, uppercase pipe, lowercase pipe, all of the above. Which of the following directives are used in AngularJS? ng app, ng init. Both A and B. None of these. Which of the following IDEs are used for the development of AngularJS? Sublime Text, Eclipse, Visual Studio, all of these. In HTML image maps, any part of the graphic that is not defined within another clickable area is considered to be part of the default area: rect, point, default, polygon. GIMP is an open source image editing tool. Open source, proprietary, shareware, point. Which tool allows you to select an area or drawing with a freehand outline. Fuzzy selection, lasso, text, bucket fill. The magic wand tool helps you to select areas of the image that share a common characteristic. What is that characteristic? Entire canvas, across all layers, only the current layer, pixels with similar colors. What is the primary goal when preparing images for web use? Optimizing image file size, compressing the image into a zip file, cropping the image, all of the above. Blank are transparent sheets stacked one on top of the other. Layers, canvas, windows, none of these. The scale option is used to change the blank of an image. Color, size, area, all of the above. What is the most important part of the image window where the image is displayed? Canvas, window, scale, size. The blank tool places text into an image. Fuzzy selection, text, eraser, bucket fill. GIF is the abbreviation for Graphics Interchange Format, Graphics Instruction Format, Graphics Item Format, Graphics Information Format. Which file formats are more compact than GIF files? JPG and JPEG, JPG, JPEG, none of the above. How many different colors can a GIF contain? 64, 156, 256, 264. Which of the following is the latest version of this photo editor? Version 7, version 8, version 9, version 10. Which tool is used to trace a freehand selection, like drawing with a pencil? Lasso tool, freehand tool, drawing tool, brush tool. Which tool is used to add formatted text to a photo? Text tool, edit tool, image tool, none of these. What is the default file extension for Photoshop files? PSD, BMP, AVI, JPEG. What is Photoshop primarily used for? Animation, typing, accounting, photo editing. What does CMYK stand for? Cyan, magenta, yellow, blue, cyan, magenta, yellow, black, cyan, magenta, yellow, brown, cream, magenta, yellow, black. Which company made Amiga Ready? Microsoft, Cisco Systems, Adobe Systems, Citrix Systems. A raster image is also known as bitmap image, curve image, color image, graphic image. Which 4-key shortcut is used to turn something into black and white? Alt plus Control plus Shift plus S, Control plus Shift plus B, Alt plus Control plus Shift plus B. Window plus Control plus Shift plus B. How many color modes are there in Photoshop? 2, 3, 4, 5. Which blur filter is used to create rain or snow effects? Lens blur, radial blur, motion blur, Gaussian blur. How many types of gradient are there in Photoshop? 3, 4, 5, 6. How many types of marquee tool are there in Photoshop? 2, 3, 4, 5.
इसमें क्वेश्चंस हिंदी और इंग्लिश दोनों में हैं, शॉर्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन है और आपके डाउट सॉल्व करने के लिए चैट जीपीटी की सपोर्ट है। अगर आप इसे ट्राई करना चाहते हैं तो प्ले स्टोर से एंकी ड्रॉइड डाउनलोड करें और हमारी वेबसाइट asmcqs.gt.tc पर जाकर अपने सब्जेक्ट के फ्री सैंपल सेट डाउनलोड करें और एंकी ड्रॉइड में इंपोर्ट करके इस्तेमाल करना शुरू करें। अगर आपको अच्छा लगे तो बाय नाउ पर क्लिक करके गूगल फॉर्म फिल करें। हम आपका 1500 प्लस क्वेश्चन का सेट 1 से 6 घंटे के अंदर आपके व्हाट्सएप नंबर और ईमेल पर भेज देंगे।